Aaron, you ready? Where's he going?
Yeah.
He left.
We were told. We were going to have a study on executive session with you.
He is talking to the attorney again.
On the 8th.
Lisa's.
Okay, but I was supposed to.
Yeah, really.
We'll send it out. So the 8th is just going to be a study session and it's going to be, I mean, executive session.
Yeah, it's gonna be
You're
really
gonna have
tough.
to get your deals in at the beginning, keep them.
And we'll
Me,
do.
me and Eric are gonna fend him off as best we can.
Hey, by the way, why all three of us are here?
Laura's
All right, we'll call this meeting to order. Could we please have roll call?
Yes, you may. Councilmember Shacker,
Here.
Councilmember Perkins,
Here.
Councilmember Phillips,
here.
Councilmember McCafferty,
Here.
Councilmember Gruneel,
Here.
Vice Mayor Armstrong,
Here,
Mayor Miller,
Here.
and our town attorney is present.
All right, thank you. Item 2, discussion regarding a potential land purchase at Del Rio Springs. Who's first? Michael, come on up. So please state your name, Michael, if you would. Because I don't know what it is.
Sure, Michael Patrick. I'm with the Trust for Public Land. Good to see you all. Thank you. And do we have folks joining by Zoom? Do you know? Okay, okay. Well, thanks for having me. I want to acknowledge Supervisor Brown, who's been instrumental, is here in the audience, instrumental in the success of this project. Kay Lauster is here. Bill Otwell, the historic preservation architect extraordinaire, is here. We hope to have Hank Vincent from State Parks and Kim Schoenig and Maggie Holmberg by Zoom, but we'll see if that happens or not. So we wanted to talk to you about the potential, the opportunity to acquire a building parcel with the historic Fred Harvey buildings on it that's in the middle of the state park land. Let me just try to advance this. And I have maybe 5 or 6 slides I'll go through quickly to sort of give the background and the recent history on this project. And then we'll get into the property itself. So as you know, the orange property shown here was the original Del Rio Springs Ranch, which originally was slated for 3,000 homes and hotel and golf course, et cetera, before the market crash of 2008. And the east side of that property, we felt had some extraordinary characteristics to it, worthy of protecting it, protecting the Del Rio Springs and the start of the river at Sullivan Lake, historical preservation benefits, including the first government seat for the Arizona Territory back in 1863, springs that provided water for Williams and Seligman and the establishment of El Tovar in the Grand Canyon. Of course, the opportunity to extend the Peavine Trail all the way up from Prescott and Prescott Valley up to through the town and up to the start of the river, and what turned into a new state park land, still to be created as a state park. And then Maggie Holmberg joined me on a number of meetings to the legislature to talk about the economic development benefits from tourism and nature-based recreation and so forth, which is very common now among rural communities across the country to look at that as a source of economic benefits for the town. Many project supporters representing the diversity of the benefits of the project, including sportsmen, including the backcountry horsemen, including conservation groups like the Nature Conservancy, which were a close partner to us. In the course of the project, and we discussed this with you April a year ago, we hired Peter Burgoyce, the Prescott-based landscape architect, to help us develop a master plan for the property. We had over 30 meetings with many stakeholders. final report was completed in April, and you can't see the map that's shown here probably in much detail, but it shows a very well thought out, we think, plan for the use of the property. Maggie and Terry suggested I show this. This is from the new general plan, and it does show that the property up there where the new state park land is now falls into the land use category of open space and parks. And then, as you know, we reached a major milestone in March. We were able to acquire 780 acres for a new state park, which was is now owned by Arizona State Parks and Trails. The funding to buy that land was provided by the Arizona legislature, by Yavapai County, with the strong support of Supervisor Brown, Nature Conservancy, and then the Nina Mesa Pulliam Charitable Trust. And on the map here, you know this already, but important to point out, everything in orange now is owned by state parks. The blue property there in the middle is what we're talking about this evening. It's 23 acres that we still have the option to acquire from Del Rio Springs Ranch Loan Partners. And I thought this was interesting. State Parks has 33 park units until this most recent addition. Only 14 of those have camping facilities. As you know from the community-based master plan, we anticipate and hope that they will offer camping here. And of those 33 park units, only 8 offer camping and are either in or near a town or a city. So a pretty unique, I think, opportunity for your town to have a state park with, you know, a full slate of amenities to offer visitors that come. So with that big success under our belt, there are still several opportunities that remain that we hope can be activated. One is extending the Peavine Trail up from where it ends now at Road 4 North, all the way up to the state park land and then up to the river. And I've been working with the town, specifically with Cindy Thomas, and also with Yavapai Trail Association to see if we can help kind of move that forward quickly. We have this 23-acre parcel with the Fred Harvey historic buildings on them. And then also we have a property up at the north end, very important for rock climbing, the Upper Sully's Canyon parcel. So the opportunity that we want to discuss with you, and it's the parcel shown here in the light orange color surrounded by state park land. It's nearly 23 acres, contains 3 or 4 historic buildings, depending on how you count it. The fourth is a barn that was the wintering barn for the Grand Canyon mules when they brought them down from the Grand Canyon every winter. So this parcel we had appraised recently. It appraised for $570,000 based on some nearby sales that the appraiser found. And the town has the opportunity to buy it for $150,000. And that the reason for that low price is twofold. One is it's the negotiation that we had with the sellers who have negotiated, we've negotiated a great bargain sale with. And then more recently, a private donor came up about 4 weeks ago. We took him out to the property, and he's willing to contribute $125,000 of matching funds to see this happen because he thinks it's really important. And so that is why we're able to offer it for the price you see there. And then I just want to mention too, it's maybe a secondary point, but the red line coming in there, that's the road and legal access that is provided for that parcel across the state parkland. And there's a pretty good gate at the south end of the parcel, so it's easy to, in its current configuration, to just lock that gate off and control public access into the into the land and the buildings that are out there. I did want to just remind that the current budget for the town didn't anticipate and include funding to acquire the property. In fact, more than you actually need. Realizing that you all have to make a decision on whether to buy it or not, but it was anticipated in when the budget was put together and approved. So here I get way out of my league because this is really Kay Loster's and Bill Otwell's realm, but to us, this land is of great historical importance. And I think you all know of this history, but when the railroad was built in the 1870s across the country to reach the West Coast, Fred Harvey partnered with the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad to create a string of hotels, of high-quality hotels and restaurants and dining cars to build up traffic. And not only that, but they created all of these tourism sites like Taos, like Santa Fe, like Petrified Forest, like the Grand Canyon, many places like that. And so it's of great importance to the country, to the region, to have this history. You know, a lot of the Fred Harvey hotels are no longer in existence. However, some like the La Posada in Williams, La Fonda in Santa Fe, and others have been lovingly restored and are, you know, part of a remaining part of that history. So the railroad bought the property that we're talking about here in 1909, and then the Harvey company constructed a farm on which they had, you know, up to 40 people working. They produced poultry and eggs and milked and bottled the milk and made ice and other produce and shipped it by rail to all of the hotels and restaurants in the Western District, all the way from Santa Fe to Los Angeles. And some of those buildings are remaining out there, as you know, and they're the only, as far as we know, the only remaining buildings associated with a farm operated by the Fred Harvey Company left in the country. And then, of course, this history about the first seat of territorial government of Arizona in 1863 was either on this parcel or the state park land, or maybe on both of those properties. This is hard to see, I know, but I think this is so cool. I got this from the Charlotte Hall archives. It's the original railroad map for this stretch of Chino Valley. And so on the right side, you see the stop known as Puro, or which is where the Del Rio Springs were, and the train cars would stop there, load up with water to go to Ash Fork and Williams and the Grand Canyon. In fact, Cecil Wist, who we've hired for some fencing work on the property, as a teenager, lived out there and loaded up those rail cars. I think he made $1 a day, but that, you know, there's still some people that remember that history. And then in the middle here, you see on this map, which is from the 1920s, the Harvey Del Rio Dairy Ranch, as they called it back then. So just a reminder that this was an important historical place back in the day. And then I just have a few photos here to share with you. The Converse family ran the farm for many years, and they're here on horseback and in front of a car. And some of those buildings you see, the silo and the adobe house, are no longer standing. But of course, some of them are, as you see in the bottom photos here. And then photo of loading the Grand Canyon mules up on the property. And the final slide I have, so this is a view on the top of the property looking out from the ridge, looking towards the west. The old railroad bed, you can kind of see it there running in the foreground across. And so those buildings will be the view that people have as they're using the Peavine Trail, whether they're on horse or mountain biking or hiking. They'll get to see kind of that history. And as the master plan shows, we hope that there are some interpretive trails that go off of that and go to those buildings with some signage that describes to people how those buildings were used back in the day. And the photos on the bottom, the milk barn on the left, right next to it, the house where they made ice and bottled the milk, and then the mule barn where they wintered the mules from the Grand Canyon. And those are the slides that I had to share with you. If you would like, I would love to have Kay Loster come up and say a few things, and also maybe ask Bill Otwell to come up as well if appropriate.
Can I ask one question? It was my understanding, I'm not speaking for anybody else, but that these buildings were included with the original purchase. Could you tell me why they weren't?
Of course.
I'm in full support of this. I just want to know why they weren't
course.
included.
You know, during the course of the project, we had state parks out, I think 3 times, including Bob Broshide, the director. They had a state park board meeting last week in Prescott, and they came up and toured the property. And I'm mentioning this because at that meeting, they showed a list of all the projects they have on other parks. Kind of a backlog of projects. They have $100 million worth of things that people need done all around the state. And so it was very clear from the beginning to me that Bob Broshide and his team were very wary of taking on any more structures because of that backlog that they have and the vagaries of state funding. As you know, they're in a very big deficit this year and cutting staff. And so, you know, they said they'd be happy to take this project on and the property on, including some of the buildings, the poultry barn, there's a few houses, the dam at Sullivan Lake, but clearly they couldn't add this to their list of buildings to manage. Yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah, add to that, I'm for it also, but do we know what it's going to cost to bring these buildings up to where they should be?
You know, we don't. That work has not been done yet. And maybe I could ask Bill Otwell to come up and describe what he could do to come up with that answer.
Okay.
Would that be good?
Yeah.
For those that don't know, you maybe just quick kind of bio.
Well, thank you, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity. I'm Bill Otwell, architect in Prescott. I was most recently before you with the police station. I was the program architect and design architect for the new police station for Doug Stroh. Got to work with him on that, so I'm really happy with that project. I moved to Prescott in 1974 after graduating from ASU and built my little adobe house on Granite Creek Lane in Chino Valley, when I think the Buckaroo Roundup was the only store in town. So, and I now live over off of Williamson Valley Road. So we've toured the facility, and what I came up with is sort of the standard procedure that we like to go through with these historic buildings. And I propose documenting the buildings as they are, so as found drawings, as we call them. And then Peter Burgoyes, who did the master plan, was going to do some renderings of what the project could look like when the buildings are rehabilitated or restored. And that's a big part of the piece of the puzzle. I was asked the question, is there something that we could do to get to phase 2 other than that? And phase 2 was to develop a scope of work to stabilize the buildings, so we know what you're looking at in terms of expenses. And I really don't know now. I've had one visit to the site, and that's what I would do with the what I call the scope of work and the estimated cost. And so the option is to do all the as-found drawings and do the renderings so that you can show everybody what it's going to be like when it's finished. The other thing is to just do the last part of what I proposed, which is the scope of work and a cost estimate. And that that is considered appropriate preservation practice by the State Historic Preservation Office. They call it emergency stabilization. And in the past, they even had grants to do emergency stabilization. If a building really needed a roof, you might be able to get a roof. Though that grant program is really not in existence now. What little money they've had, they've already spent this year. And I don't know what next year even looks like. So that would be what we would do, is go out and photo document rather than doing the as-found drawings and the computer-generated renderings. We would photo document the buildings and develop a scope of work that we could then have general contractors bid on. So you would know exactly what you're getting into.
Before we make the purchase.
I'm not sure what the timing is on the purchase. Probably, I think we talked about 2 months. So I don't know if that's possible.
So our deadline, our option deadline is.
Michael, we need you to come up to the mic.
Sure.
Thank you.
Our option deadline runs through December 31st. So we have to make a decision before then. So conceivably, if we kick Bill off soon, he could come back in 2 months and you could make a decision on buying the property with that information.
Okay.
That sound right?
Yeah, it's just to be in front of the mic. I could commit to completing it by the end of November, so you'd have a whole month before your option expires. And I might be able to do it sooner. Part of it depends on the input I can get from the various contractors that I would ask to look at this, rather than me just making an estimate. I'd like the roofers to actually give us a price. So I could commit to doing it by the end of November.
Would that include clean out of the building? I've been there.
No, although I think the clean out of the buildings is something that we discussed with Supervisor Brown and how that might happen. I think what needs to happen before the clean out is some type of inventory, which would be part of my scope of work. There's a lot of old car parts, engine blocks, things that aren't of any value historically. There are also some metal components that were part of the milking barn and that whole operation that we should preserve and keep. So I wouldn't want to just turn somebody loose and clean the place out. So, but that would be part of that scope. The cost of that is something that we'll have to explore, whether there's an option for county guys to do any of that work or how that would happen.
Better get hot, Greg.
Yeah, if I could add, so there are some drums of old
Right.
solvent and engine oil and things,
Right.
and those will be removed by the sellers before closing. But at least for another 3 months. Supervisor Brown's talked to the probation department and they're happy to have volunteers come out and clean out the buildings of all
Yeah,
that junk.
I read that about the seller taking
Yeah.
the drums out.
Right.
Jumpsuit.
Any other questions or would anyone
Not
like to
from
hear from
me.
Kay?
I have
Or a few
questions,
observations?
but for
One
staff,
question here.
I have questions for the staff. First, are there any received water rights that go with this purchase? And what are those water rights?
There are no water rights, transferable water rights. There is a water well on the property.
So it's just like an exempt well status.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
It's a good deal. And I fully support the deal, but there's a lot of considerations we have to look at. Which department's going to stay in it? Do we have to hire more staff to take care of now 7 buildings and 23 acres? You know, so those are additional costs in perpetuity.
Yep.
Are we going to fence it off until we get it? And are we really in a fiscal position today to leverage, and we're talking probably to do it correctly, close to $1 million. I mean, if we're retrofitting buildings for 600,000, all those buildings. And then what about that blue building right in the middle? What is that? It looks like a house. Does that become,
Bunkhouse.
Mayor Council, yes, she said that's the bunkhouse. Our, in talking with this and knowing the financial position of the town, both short and long term, what we have discussed is coming back to with a proposal that would be the initial one-time costs for purchase and for stabilization, emergency stabilization, locking it down, making sure that the buildings are secure and won't deteriorate more. And then looking at what ongoing costs there would be minimally and what we could do going forward as we secure grant or alternative outside funding. So that would be the goal of staff, is depending what we can take on and what we can get by grants, knowing we don't want to burden the general fund.
how the school board did, I think Cooper, they did a lease, they leased it out and then they take care of the building. Maybe that's something that we ought to think about. If there's a group or an organization and we say, hey, we'll give you a 90-year lease for $1 or whatever we work out.
And the town has been successful with those private partnerships. We have the Comfort Shooting Range, we have the equestrian facility. So those kinds of partnerships we could look at to see if there's someone else who actually wants to operate it with a land lease. Absolutely.
Hey,
Historical Society.
Okay,
You just got more on your plate now, young lady.
Come on, Kay.
we just need to know how much money
you
you
got
have.
5 minutes, lady.
We've talked a lot about Fort Whipple and the first territorial government, and we've talked a lot about Fred Harvey. But I think that what is really significant to us as a town is that that's where Chino Valley actually started. Because once the fort moved out in that May of 1864, I get to my front page, that summer, Robert Postal and 3 other people put squatters' claims to 500 acres there. That summer, he was selling 200 tons of hay to the folks in Prescott. By November of 1866, he was producing, he had 300 acres in corn, wheat, barley, potatoes, and vegetables, marketing them in Prescott. So, and then, so he was there, and then a community started building up around there. This is Chino Valley's first community. So next, the property south of him was bought by the Shivers family in 1867. He married their daughter, Hannah. Hannah actually stayed on that farm through the death of her first husband and her second husband. I don't know what happened. She actually got the land patent in her own name in 1875. And if you come to our museum, you'll see this amazing document that she wrote called The Separate Property of Married Women. These are books that they have at the county. And she lists all of her acres of hay and her wagons and her this and that. It's really amazing. So that was Hannah's property. She had 5 children through the 2 different husbands. They all stayed in the area. They were ranchers. And the two of the sons worked in the mines in Jerome, but her son Todd, he ranched up in the Big Chino, and for a while he actually rented, living back at the house where he was born at Del Rio. But his sons Herb and Carl owned all the west side of Chino Valley. So if you live over there, you're living on the ranches that the Shivers Reese family owned. And her other son ranched in the area too. I haven't figured out where, but they were the older ones. Her daughter taught over at Williamson Valley and married the Pembertons. They connected to the Springfield family over there. So that was the first family. So then in 1860, all right, I said the 1867, the Shivers were there. They had a whole bunch of daughters. One of their daughters married John Fisher, who was a merchant in Prescott. And she later married Morris Goldwater, and she was the aunt to Barry Goldwater. She was his Aunt Sally. So he would talk about his Aunt Sally. So they were all out there at Chino Valley. This was the only other community around besides Prescott. So there's a real connection between agriculture, the marketing, and the social network was all out here in Chino Valley. Besides the Shivers, there was a Banghart family, and they lived north. If you take old Highway 89 and you go where there's that little bridge is, they were there, and that's where the stage stop was. And that was, they had a railroad station there as well. They also had 4 daughters. And one of them married one of the Murphy boys, who was a railroad promoter, and became governor. So these families were very connected and very important families, and they connected to our Chino Valley families. Now, James Baker owned the property between Postal and the Bangharts, all that area that's just north of the property that we're talking, that the state parks bought. James Baker and his partner, John G. Campbell, who turned out to be quite a problem for him. They owned the ranches all the way to Perkinsville. They had such a huge ranch. They're the ones that sold the Perkinsville ranch to the Perkins family in 1900. So they were, and he married Sarah L. E-H-L-E from a prominent Prescott family, another Prescott marriage. And the other part we don't know, that I'm just learning about, is that where Granite Creek comes into the Verde River, there were a lot of homesteads there. John Marion, who was a newspaperman for Prescott, he married one of the Banghart girls, and he had a homestead there. There was a Shackelford that had a homestead there. There's a lot of water there, so they wanted to all settle in there. And then the other place was up the Big Chino. The Storm family was there in 1879. They're the same Storms that have the ranch over by Glassford Hill now. And in fact, when Hannah's family kind of fell apart, one of their sons sort of was taken in by them and helped get started by the Storm family. So that's our community that we had from 1864 to 1909. All these people were living out there. I want to say that all those squatters' claims, those 4 original squatter claims, are actually owned by the Bakers because of financial problems and gambling debts Mr. Reese did. They lost their farms, and they all ended up owned by the Bakers. And the Bakers are the one that sold the 1898 water lease to the Santa Fe in 1898. And I believe they're the ones that sold that parcel of land to Prescott in 1901 for their water supply. So that's Chino Valley's, 40 some years of history at our very first settlement before we even got to Jerome Junction. So that's why it's important for the town to protect our history there. I had this vision of, if you take that dairy barn and you can, think about the Palace restaurant and how cool that is to go in there. Think about them gambling in there and have that feeling of history all around you. Well, you could do that at the dairy barn here. Have it be an event center, but put the history in there. Just bring that history into the building so people go there and feel that when they're enjoying the space. And then I had this also fantasy that we could actually have a 1865 military encampment on the hill. Yeah. Imagine that as a tourist draw. And we could have mule rides. I mean, huh? Did I say capital? No. I don't.
Where was the first state?
Well, I'm really interested. I'm wondering if it was on that hill, because there was an archaeologist who did some work. An archaeologist are going to have to find that out. And one archaeologist said they couldn't find any evidence there, but they're looking up by the Bangharts. But the kids who lived there found military buttons on the land. They lived in the adobe house and it was still there. So it would take an architect to go and find where that military camp was. But if you look at the map that's in the museum, you'll see Farrington's old corral, and that was the corral for the fort, because Farrington came with them. And that swamp, when you drive in that road on the Del Rio Ranch Road, and it comes to a T, and you're looking to that's a swampy area in front of there. I think they were up on that hill because there was a lot of water available just below that for them. That's why I'm thinking that hill might be a good spot for it. But archaeologists have to find that.
Okay, so the
Yeah.
original question was, you'll take the lead? You try to divert, but we're going back to the original question.
No, I'm still trying to save the Cooper house. So.
Back to we can turn it
Thank
into
you. guys.
gambling
If you have
and
any
drinking.
questions,
Yeah.
come and see me. I'll be
Gambling.
at the museum this Saturday from 10 to 1. If you have any questions, I want to talk personally about the history.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
Thank you, Kay.
All right.
If I could just add, I'll be around tomorrow morning if anyone wants to go out and look. Happy to take you out. And I'll just conclude by saying rightfully people get passionate about history. So thanks to Kay and Bill and Supervisor Brown and all of you for what you've done. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're moving on. Item
So-
3. Oh, did somebody say something?
Yes, I did. Before we move on, just want to be sure what I'm hearing is the direction from Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council is for us to come back with an action item on this for you.
Seems like, yeah.
Yes.
Please.
Is there anybody in opposition?
I'm ready. to
Okay,
just-
thank you.
I'm gonna vote no
No.
if you vote yes.
You two need to stop.
I think that
You
guy
gotta-
standing there offloading mules was you.
Your lead.
Okay, item 3, update and discussion on water reclamation facility improvements and funding options, funding opportunities for the design of a water production facility at Old Home Manor, and discussion of a wellhead protection study. You better talk fast, buddy.
We have a lot to cover in a very short order, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Pleasure to be here this afternoon. Lot to cover. Co-presenters here tonight will be Mr. Dan Jackson. He produced the rate model that was approved last fall to talk about what the rate study has. Also have Mr. Taylor Pierce from Pace Engineering, who's doing our water reclamation. And of course, Frank Marbury's here, our Public Works Director and Town Engineer. 4 topics we're going to cover real quickly. The water reclamation facility, the assessment and plant modification project, get you up to date on that and what those cost assessments are looking like. Also want to get you up to speed on the Bright Star water production facility. We have, I was before you several months ago talking about PFAS, per and polyfluorinated alkyl substances. Want to provide an update on that and then talk about a proposed brand new water production facility at Old Home Manor. And then lastly, a wellhead protection plan for the town's other water production wells yet to come online. So let's first talk about the water reclamation facility. Just real quick refresher, February 2023, we brought on Pace Engineering, Advanced Water Engineering brought on to assess the water reclamation facility to try and delay a major water reclamation plant expansion, thinking about a northern solution for water reclamation since everything gravity flows to the north. They put together an assessment. We looked at some of those options. We kind of all nodded our head. We liked option 2A, which I'll cover here in a second, which looked at just modifying the plant to deal with some influx in volumes and some water quality issues. And Pace presented that was in September of 2023. Again, alternative 2A. That alternative 2A looked at 2 new equalization basins just to the east side of the current existing facility. They were 200,000 gallon flow equalization basins, increasing the average daily flow from 0.36 to 0.5 million gallons per day, and the max from 0.52 million gallons to 0.85, and allowing for better operation and maintenance of that facility from those peak flows and water quality issues that the plant's currently experiencing. This was the existing budget that was presented in that assessment. We talked about $2.857 million for just the modification. The council kind of gave us some direction at that study session. If there's some other things that were needed at the plant, that we should also look at some of the equipment, other appurtenances if they were worn out or modifications were needed to help improve the operation and maintenance of that. So that's what Pace and our operators, and you, by the way, the utility manager's here to address any other questions you may have, Jesse Holyfield. But with that ongoing discussion, basically, we did have some additional appurtenances we'll discuss in just a second. But in September of 2024, we did the RFQ was released. I'm sorry, it should be March 2023. And March of this year, we actually, Pace was the most qualified candidate in that solicitation, and they were brought on board, and they have been working with the town. This table has got a lot of information. I just want to point out here with my cursor, this left column is that original assessment that I just showed you, that 2.8, with the addition of this 200,000 that was not included, which was site electrical improvements. And then since the assessment, we have also PFAS impacts at our water reclamation, which we were hoping to do a PFAS treatment system design. That's an additional 259,000. So that 2.8 is now 3.3. I'm going to invite Mr. Taylor Pierce to come up and talk about the additional pertinences and additional costs here that have been looked at and assessed.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just want to walk you through this real quick. I'm not going to take too much of your time. Oh, As Mark mentioned, we
Good,
have started
good.
design. We are at about 30%. It is a draft
Good.
phase right now. And that's where we
Oh,
built
I
these
haven't
costs
checked it
from.
out.
So
I
that
yeah, I'm actually tied in a town hall meeting for a different
Someone
town.
on a phone or
I
something
don't
back
need to
there?
enter this part. I don't manage this land. I'll take a
sounds like
peek
it's
on my
inside my
way
head.
out. I'll talk to them if there's something I don't.
There's numbers inside.
So as you can see, the numbers on the right column are much higher than what are on the left. And this was because we went through with operators and management to get everything that they could possibly want put in this phase now, which was somewhat at your direction, but the meeting that was last September. So with the idea being we bring on a CMAR if there's GMPs and value engineering to be done later. Some things can be cut out of the project. This does have an extensive amount of asphalt and grading work. Part of that is for drainage issues. Some of it's just for getting equipment in and out of the site. That adds about $1 million to the project right off the bat. There's potential for odor control, both at your headworks and dewatering building. That also is something that if it comes down to it can be added or eliminated depending on budget. That really is for operator safety and comfort of work there. So when we get to the EQ basins, which was the main part of this project, that has increased about $500,000. However, the majority of that increase is due in part one to some of the geotech foundings, which require a little bit more over X than we were expecting. So we have to dig out more dirt due to the clay soils in the area. And then we're able to address two problems in one by diverting your influent before it gets to your screens to the EQ basins and adding a coarse screen there, which then prevents us from doing major upgrades within your headworks building at this time. So we can actually save money. I know it doesn't look like that, but it is a very cost-effective way of addressing two problems at your EQ basins right now. So one thing that did come in cheaper is the UV units are much more affordable than when we looked at this a couple years ago. So those are about $200,000 less. And then the original budget really just had a second dewatering unit. There's a lot more building modification and structural changes that need to be done in order to fit it within the building, which is why that unit went up so much. And then when the town gets their Vector dump station, they would like a place for it to be cleaned out and offloaded. So that is an additional item that we put on the wish list and included on the 30% plans. Very helpful to have, especially for that cost. It is something I would definitely recommend keeping in the project. And then previously, when we looked at this before, you were having some serious issues with nitrogen spikes coming into your plant. That has been a little bit more sporadic recently, and operations can address that on a case-by-case basis, so we don't have to actually do any design on that. So that micro seed dosing system, which is really just sugar for the treatment plant. So the site electrical now includes some upgrades. We don't have to expand your service, but we do include lighting and some conduits and wiring. So that is the increase on that item. And then as far as the non-construction costs, obviously there's the engineering design side of it, permitting, admin, legal review, and advertisement costs that all get rolled into that number right there, which is about the same as what it was before. So all that said, contract overhead and profit was kept at the same percentage just because I don't know what that's going to be. And in this market, you don't want to guess too much. But once you do advertise for a CMAR for this project, you'll have a better idea of what this could be. And I know Mark's about to talk about this, but there are funding options available to the town based on some of our research that we've done to this point as far as grants and loans through state funds that can help offset some of the costs that you're seeing now. And with that, I will turn it back over unless you guys have some questions about any of those items.
Yeah, the
Go ahead.
nitrate spike, we knew about the nitrate spike before, and that's
Yeah.
why I thought the EQ basin was supposed to alleviate that because it was going to slowly.
Yes, it will help. The nitrate levels that you guys were seeing on very short periods, usually about like 9 a.m. every now and then, were on a magnitude of like 500 times what they should be. So we've talked to Jesse. He's looking at what potential sources those could be. I don't want to say that there's anyone contributing to that individually. It seems unlikely, but They've been less sporadic, and yes, your EQ will dilute that over time, and that is how we're planning to move forward with that. But if they do need to, you can just buy some like glycerin or something and dump it in as needed to adjust the bump your carbon up to balance your carbon nitrogen ratio.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
When you say there's grants and stuff to offset the cost, how much are you talking?
Oh, he's gonna cover it.
Okay.
I don't want to steal his thunder, but
He don't need no
Yeah,
thunder.
like 40%.
Was the ability for trucks to come in and dump included in this, like the honey trucks,
Yes.
honey wagons and all that stuff?
Yeah.
N-
No.
No, the town doesn't accept septage. So it'd just be solely for the town use. So your own Vector truck for maintenance and cleaning of, your lift stations, manholes, stuff like that. So if you choose to accept septage, which is a different discussion entirely, we can go
Gotcha.
that route. I would not dump it at that location if that's what you
Okay,
do.
thank you.
Right.
Just trying to get some money in here somehow.
Just to add on the bottom there, there's a new sewer Vector truck that's 650K. The current truck is really in need of being
In the
replaced.
shop.
And of course, we also have the PFAS treatment system in their design. So again, this is a very scary number, 9.2 million, but I am going to cover what that looks like from a state revolving fund, from a loan and grant percentage. So we're going to cover that soon. Next, Bright Star update real quick. Getting short on time. Just real fast recap. August 2023, ADQ performed some PFAS, again, in per and polyfluorinated alkyl substances. Tested Bright Star well, our Country West water production facilities. The Bright Star well was about what was being estimated at the time for the EPA proposed maximum contaminant levels, which just got finalized in March of this year at 4 parts per trillion. Our Bright Star well is double the maximum contaminant level at 8.94. So we do need to take some preventative measures there. We've been working with ADQ. So PFOA is the constituent that we're dealing with at the Bright Star. Also, we found out during that testing, our Country West wells are at half. So there's a couple parts per trillion at Country West, so they're below the maximum contaminant level. And then Chino Meadows 2 was found to be also about nearly double what the maximum contaminant level is. So again, that area where Bright Star and the Chino Meadows 2 Water Company well is, that is an area that has PFAS issues. We did an assessment. We brought on board Corolla Engineering. October of 2023, they did a PFAS assessment of Bright Star, looked at options for the town. We did present that information to you in February. They looked at PFAS treatment at the wellhead of the Bright Star facility. They estimated costs at a pretty conservative of $5.1 million. And then they also had a recommendations, which we did discuss at that study session, of the town is really should consider, which was also identified in our integrated water master plan, which was completed in 2021, that we should have a second water production facility somewhere probably brought online at Old Home Manor. And so they also cost estimated that new water production facility, Old Home Manor, at $10.2 million. Well, these are scary numbers, but there is some silver lining here. So I'm getting to that. Just want to let you know that we have partnered with ADQ through federal and state funding. DEQ is going to cover all of the pilot costs, all of the engineering, and all of the final remedy construction for all of the remediation requirements at our Bright Star facility. So that 5.1 estimate, that's all being covered by the state and federal money. So nothing for the town to incur. They're handling all of those aspects. They're in final scoping phases right now of that work. We've been working with them very diligently. All right, let's talk about that new water production facility at Old Home Manor. Again, that was brought up in the 2021 Integrated Water Master Plan, that we are running a risky utility right now because we have one main water production facility and 2 very small backup wells. So recommendation was in the 5-year capital improvement plan for the IWMP that we should bring on some new well. And Corolla also had the same recommendation. I just want to go back. This is an old slide I've showed several times. Where are we at a level of service? Right now, the blue arrow on the left there shows that we're probably somewhere between a 3 and a 4, which that we do have supply interruptions. Should we have some sort of monsoon event, some sort of lightning strike, the well goes down, or a component goes out, that well goes down, we are in a curtailment phase until that well is back up and running. So we are running at a risky utility right now. Our goal is to get our utility up to where a 1, maybe down to the lower end of a 1, maybe 2. That would be a significant improvement in the robustness, the reliability, and resiliency of our water utility. And we could withstand storm events, one major well going down, and still provide service, especially for fire flow, which is critically needed, especially during storms. So this is the image of Old Home Manor, and this is what was provided by the Carollo assessment, looking at bringing on the ballpark well here at Old Home Manor and a new water storage facility and booster station up on that elevation of the central hills there, somewhere in that vicinity, maybe another location, but this was their concept. And then having a water line down that road alignment and interconnecting with the town's current water system right here on the west side. So that was the assessment, and again, that was $10.2 million for all of that infrastructure and appurtenances. So we've covered some big numbers. 9.2 for the water reclamation, 10.2 for a new water production facility. So let's talk about those. So the 9.2, the current town budget has for 24-25 fiscal year, a $5 million line item budget. We have had several meetings with Water Infrastructure Finance Authority of Arizona, and we think we're on a track now that they want us to follow, which is part of using the state revolving water development funds, both for our reclamation and our new water production facility. So this has a 60-40, 60% loan, 40% grant as part of those state revolving funds. So our goal in fiscal year 24-25 is put in for a $5 million loan grant.
Wait,
So that's,
80-20.
we're at a 60-40. Based on our,
Did that number change?
yeah, we applied for originally for a $2 million water supply development, 2 million grant. Initially, it came back with 80-20, and then we've been reassessed from our disadvantage percent. Right now, we're at a 60-40. Yep, that's been developed. So 60% loan, 40% grant. So we're looking at 24-25, $5 million in an application with WIFA, state revolving, and in 25-26 fiscal year, 4.2, 60-40 loan grant. I'll get in those percents in a second. And same thing, we're having a phased, because the maximum amount you can apply for with the state revolving fund for the water supply development is 5 million block for these, the 5 million maximum with the loan grant. So we'll have a multi-year phase for the water production facility. Should we move forward with that? And then I just want to bring this up real quick and then have Mr. Dan Jackson come up and talk about what has already been approved. So the town water, 5-year water rate study, the sewer supported had 5.2 new debt service. Also water supported had 7.25. That's a total of $12.45 million already in the rate study approved as new debt approved. And that 60-40 WIFA supported for the reclamation, that is 5.5 loan and 3.68 grant. And then the water side would be the 60-40 again, 4 million in grant and a little over 6 million in loan. That's a total of 11.65 million. So you can see that's under what we've already approved in your rate study you approved last fall. And I want Mr. Dan Jackson come up and talk to you about just real quick, the rate study on that.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. It's always good to be back here to talk to you all. I only have a couple of minutes that I'm going to be speaking to you, but I want to start with the headline first. The rate plan that you adopted last year is sufficient, in our opinion, to cover the changed circumstances and the additional debt that you're going to have to issue. So you do not have to change the rate plan. That is one of the advantages of doing these multi-year rate plans, because it allows for the rates to be gradually adjusted each year so that you accrue additional revenue, and so that when you have changed circumstances, you have the flexibility to incorporate those changes. The rate study assumed that you would be issuing about $12.5 million in debt over the next 5 years to fund various capital projects. This new plan assumes that you'll be issuing a little bit less debt, but you'll be issuing that debt a little faster than what we anticipated in the rate plan. So it basically offsets. Bottom line is, again, I can't emphasize this enough. The rates do not have to be changed. This is the 3-year rate plan that you adopted last year. The first adjustment went into effect in January. You have 2 additional adjustments due to go into place in January of 2025 and January of 2026. The first adjustment was a 5% adjustment. The next 2 adjustments are 3%. For the average ratepayer who uses 4,000 to 5,000 gallons of water and sewer service a month, you're looking at about $2 to $3 a month increases in your monthly bills over the next couple of years. And when you consider that that's going to buy you $12 million of capital improvements, I think that's a pretty good deal. This chart right here shows the forecast cost of service. The line is what we projected in the rate study, and the bars represent the latest forecast. We went back in and we updated the rate model for your latest budget, for the latest debt numbers. As you can see on the water side, costs are going to go up a little faster than what we anticipated. But the thing about rate plans is you always build a little extra into your rate plan in anticipation that there are going to be unexpected expenses. And once again, the extra additional revenues that are going to be recovered through this rate plan will be sufficient to absorb those extra costs. Because your water costs are going to be a little bit higher than anticipated in the next couple of years, but it'll even out by 2028. And the wastewater costs are actually going to be a little less over the next couple of years. Bottom line is that the water rate plan is in good shape right now. Your debt coverage remains very strong. Your funds have the capacity to issue debt under the existing rate plan. But as always, you got to continue to monitor your expenses. Rate plans are not guarantees, they're forecasts based on a series of reasonable assumptions. We think our forecasts have hit pretty close to the mark so far. I think it's important to keep looking at this on an annual basis. But the bottom line is that, with particularly with the 40% grant, you're getting $20 million of investment in your community over the next couple of years with the imposition of a rate plan that's looking at $2 to $3 a month increases for your ratepayers. That's it. Mark, turn it back over to you.
Thank you. Again, just to emphasize, your current rate plan you approved will cover that new debt being issued. And then lastly, just wanted to cover real quick the wellhead protection plan. It's a proposed plan, brand new. Currently, we're in the process of renewing our underground storage facility and recharge permits at Old Home Manor. That's where we take our reclaimed water and we basically recharge back into the groundwater system. We have E.L. Montgomery and Associates out of Tucson doing that work. They're generating a groundwater model. So one thing we've asked them to do is cost out while they're doing that, mobilize for that work. What would it look at the land area that the water under the ground is actually flowing to a well? And I'll show you what that looks like. So you have groundwater flowing here in this direction, and it's being captured by this well. They're going to run this model, and they can actually show the land area where that water is being captured to a well. This is just an example. The reason it's important is obviously with Circle K and the PFAS, where we build and have sensitive, I'd say, future industrial complexes. We just want to identify where the capture zones are for the groundwater system and maybe look at those areas as special requirements in the future. If industrial complexes, commercial or other types of activities go in there, we can make sure that they're not going to contaminate the groundwater that's captured by our future water production facilities. And that's the cost is being programmed at $25,000. If we were to do this as a standalone project, it'd be between $75,000 and $100,000. So one thing I think it's a good value here is getting this done while they're mobilized. So I'd propose this while they're doing this work. And this would be something that we could actually do with the authority of the town manager. But in summary, with the staff recommendations, the summary, again, we want to pursue the $9.2 million project for our water reclamation facility with those modifications and the appurtenance updates that we were proposing. Pursue the new $10.2 million water production facility. Again, both the water reclamation and the water production, a 60-40 loan grant mix. The debt authorization will be brought back by the finance director in October. That'll be your chance to approve debt authorization through the Water Infrastructure Finance Authority. That's the start of this process for the issuance of new debt. And then I will provide additional updates in the future on the PFAS with our Bright Star water production facility as we're making those improvements and the results of the various tests and engineering work as we go forward. And then if you want us to pursue the new wellhead capture zone, that'd be a $25,000 project. Again, I can work with the town manager and we can pursue that through that line item being approved. So, but the main thing is the aspects and phases of the water reclamation and the new water production, those components will come back before you addressed and needing approval for you to re-review and then approve those as we go forward, those various phases. Just want to bring that up. And with that, answer any questions in the remaining, I apologize, minutes we had.
My question is only, could you please email me those slides? Because this was really rushed and I would like to
Very
look at them.
Email all of
you.
us, maybe?
Please.
Yeah.
Very
Thank
well do
you.
that.
Mm.
Agreed.
Sorry,
Absolutely.
we,
I'm listening
had
to
more
the worried
time.
look on Katie's face
And then
back there.
I was gonna say, if Katie, if you could send us something, because the enterprises have to be self-funding, right?
That's correct.
So none of the general funds are gonna go into this. So you're convinced that our water rates are gonna
Cover it.
cover all the existing WIFA loans on top of this one?
That's correct. Operating and the issuance of debt service that already exists and with the new debt service.
Absolutely.
I'm dumbfounded.
Really, I don't see how we can spend that much money and still make that. I mean,
With the number, we'll talk more later.
Yeah.
As long as there's,
The
a-
rate plan assumed almost $13 million of new debt. So you're actually issuing a little less debt than the rate plan assumed. That's part of why you're able to do this.
really. Uh-oh, Frank's
Sorry.
gonna throw.
get
more
them the
confusing
Vector
here.
truck, please.
If, yes, in the Vector truck, 600, we got it down to 650. I will say that if you think about the original programming that Dan worked on, that was for a full-blown expansion of the plant that was in the 15 to $20 million range. So that's why these numbers look familiar, is the actual numbers. And we're just actually getting more grant money than we originally planned for if we were doing a full-blown expansion. So the way we've reprioritized for water quality, trying to look into the future to see wait for future development and see where that goes. That's where some of this is just kind of rearranged, but I think the overall numbers are similar to what he originally planned for in that original rate study, if that helps. Okay.
Frank, is the old Vector truck, that old blue thing sitting by the mechanics, is it completely unserviceable?
It still works from time to time. I think it's caught on fire twice. So when I say it's a fire hazard, I mean it.
We needed to work about $2 million time.
I think, Jesse, those things have a 20-year life, and was that over 20 years when we bought it? It was over 20, it was about 30 years old when we bought it used, so
Okay.
that's why we're not looking at used ones, because it's
Gotcha.
just
All
not.
right,
worth it.
anything more pertinent?
Right.
All right, but Sherry, we need a motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're gonna reconvene our council after a short break.
Thank
Do you need a break? We're gonna be about 5 minutes late, folks. Or is that you?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you is a presentation of new hires that were recruited and onboarded between January and August of this year. To start with, Eric Pedro, who is with our Public Works Department as a maintenance worker who started in January. Andrew Jones, who is also a maintenance worker, started in February in Public Works. David Gibson, custodian, facilities maintenance, started in March. Christina Diga, I said that right? Animal control officer with the police department, started in March. Nathan Green is a utilities maintenance technician, date of hire May 21st in our utilities department. Serenity Villalobos, Police Services Specialist, started in June. Charlie McClendon is a police cadet in NARDA. She started in July. We had a couple people start in July. Alex Payne is also in NARDA as a police cadet, started in July. Ashley Brown started in July as well, Police Services Specialist. Ryan Rose, he's a maintenance worker in our Parks Department. He actually transferred from seasonal to full-time in July. Denise Hill is a part-time library clerk, started in August. Matthew Widener is an IT technician who started in August as well. Heather Narveson is a senior permit tech, started in August in our Development Services Department. And finally, Robert Sanchez, certified police officer. I think actually that took place just recently, today, August
Wow.
19th.
Okay.
So yeah. That's
You
good
arrested
news.
anybody yet?
And I wanted to thank Tiffany Resendez, who's the senior HR analyst with the Human Resources team, for doing such an efficient job with recruitment. So thank you to her.
Thank
you.
Thanks.
All right, item B, proclamation and recognition of former Chino Valley Police Chief Charles Chuck Wynn on his recent retirement.
Don't forget the
Come down here, Chuck.
Don't forget the photo. op.
Looks happy.
Yeah, get all these people in one picture.
A lot less stressed out.
He's over here. You want me to sit down so we're the same height? All right. Proclamation honoring Police Chief Charles Chuck Wynn on his retirement, September 24th, 2024. Whereas we express our appreciation to Police Chief Charles Chuck Wynn and honor him for his distinguished career with the town of Chino Valley and dedicated service that spans nearly 22 years, and not a breath. Whereas Chief Wynn began his career with the town of Chino Valley on November 6, 2002, as a police officer, promoted to sergeant on October 12, 2004, and subsequently promoted to police chief on June 19th, 2012. And whereas Chief Wynn has led the police department with distinction and a dedicated professionalism with a common sense approach, always putting the safety and security of his community and his officers as his top priority. Whereas under Chief Wynn's leadership, foresight, and vision, the town secured a shooting range where his officers conduct firearm training locally. The animal shelter became a no-kill shelter. National Night Out became a celebrated community event, winning national recognition, and he helped bring the new police building to his team and the community. And whereas Chief Wynn will be greatly missed and forever held in the highest esteem
Keep going.
for his steadfast public service, his advocacy for his staff, his, what's that word? Pervasive public presence, pervasive public presence, his tireless community outreach, and his commitment to the truest essence of community policing. Now then, therefore, I, Jack Miller, Mayor of Town Chino Valley, do hereby proclaim September 24th, 2024 as Chief Charles Chuck Wynn Day in the town of Chino Valley. And urge all residents and employees to join me and the town council in congratulating Chief Wynn on his outstanding career with the town of Chino Valley and wishing him many continued years of happiness and good health. In witness whereof I have unto set my hand and caused the seal of the town of Chino Valley to be officiated this 24th day of September 2024.
Really? Jack, you gonna stay down there with photos? You know they're gonna want them. You know they want them. Yeah, here we go again.
Again, a photo with everybody. Is your hair getting kind of long there, ain't it? So spiky, you going for a new look?
My wife fixed it for me. She said it makes me look young.
Does it?
No, but she thinks it. Her happy.
So we're done, right? We're done?
Oh, yeah. I saw that too, yeah.
You get your shorts?
Huh?
They get your shorts in there? Don't get in front.
One in 1,000.
Okay, all these people can leave now.
So we adjourn now, right?
No.
Just that one zoning.
Remember when there was only one police officer?
I don't know, I looked. Yeah, there's a ton of.
Sheriff, I remember sheriff.
Well, the RV park.
Dave.
So that's out.
All right, here we go. We have called the public, please.
Call to the public is an opportunity for the public to address the council on any issue within the jurisdiction of the council that is not on the agenda. Public comment is at the discretion of the council and not required by law. Individuals are limited to speak for 3 minutes. Yielding of time will not be permitted. The total time for call to the public may be up to 30 minutes per meeting. Council action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date, or responding to criticism. Disrespectful behavior will not be tolerated. This includes loud outbursts, profanity, and disruptive discussions among our audience. I have one submitted card from Jennifer Gallagher.
He's very serious.
Come on up, Jennifer. Or Mrs. Gallagher, whichever you prefer.
Good evening and thank you. I believe at the last meeting that Mr. Bloomfield spoke about East Perkinsville Road, that it was lacking in law enforcement and speed limit signs. Since I live there, I can tell you speed limit signs don't make any difference. They don't adhere to them now, and nobody's going to adhere to them later. The large traffic, the horse trailers, the dirt trucks, the cement trucks, I have seen them go down that road at probably 60 miles an hour, literally. And it's not very safe. We don't have any sidewalks. So we take our life in our hands trying to go get our mail, trying to back out of our driveways. those big vehicles, as you guys probably know, cannot stop quickly. And I wish, and I know my neighbors wish, that we had known about what the traffic might be like when we bought our homes. Because now there are families that live there. They've got small children, they've got pets. They want to go out and walk their dogs down there, to walk down maybe to the dog park. But it's really unsafe. Delivery trucks, like I know our UPS driver has almost had his truck hit when he's trying to park and there's not much space to park just to make his deliveries, to do his work. We get honked at even though we signal more than a block away when we are coming home and need to turn into our driveways, and we get honked at. People don't want to wait. They have actually then gone around us on the wrong side of the street in order to pass us. And it's kind of disheartening to know that the other streets around us from, past the school, which did need to be redone, that poor road did need to be done, and where the new homes are. And then from that corner down to the roundabout, all those streets have been redone, but ours haven't. And there are huge cracks in that part of Perkinsville. And every time one of those big vehicles rolls over it, it is a very, very loud thud, banging noise. I had to pay over $1,300 out of my pocket to have 43 feet of cracks in my ceilings and walls puttied and repainted, because my insurance company said we don't cover anything that has to do with earth movement. So I don't even think patching those cracks would do any good. I think that whole section of street needs to be redone. And now apparently there's talk of an RV park going in down near Old Home Manor. So
I'm sorry, you're out of time.
yeah, it's okay. I just envision it getting worse, and it's really dangerous.
Thank you.
Thank
We'll
you.
put your speeding concerns on to the police chief. Thank you. Anybody else who wanted to speak that didn't put in a card? All right, moving on. Current event summaries and reports, status reports by mayor and council regarding current events. I don't have anything. Nope.
Well, I know, is this on? Okay. I know Miss Denemy has some things. Oh, thank you. But I want to say we have National Night Out coming out. That's really, really, really exciting. And I hope everybody can come out for it. I volunteered to cook hot dogs.
I got kicked off.
You got volunteered.
I'm the backup.
You're back up.
I'm the backup.
Backup.
Anyways, I hope y'all can come because National Night Out's like my favorite event.
How many council members does it take to cook a hot dog? That'll be the latest joke.
Hasn't put Mayor Jack on there. He did a good job. I don't got that.
How about down here, Sherry?
The very nice model aircraft show this past Saturday out at the their field out there. Very nice. A lot of unbelievable what those guys can do with those model airplanes. Very, very interesting.
Okay.
Also, this coming weekend is the Chino Grinder, so watch out on Perkinsville Road for cyclists.
All right. Status report by acting town manager Terry Denemy regarding town accomplishments and current upcoming projects.
I will just reiterate what Councilmember Perkins said about National Night Out. It is Saturday from 5 to 8 p.m. at Memory Park. And as you know, that is an award-winning event. It's a community event that's cherished and looked forward to every year. So please come out with the police and celebrate that partnership and our community policing that is very valued in our community. The next Saturday is the Harvest Festival, October 5th, and that's from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. out at the Yavapai College campus. And that is another amazing event. If you've never been out to the campus and see all that they offer, this is a great opportunity to see that. And that's a real partnership with the town and Cindy Thomas and working with the dean out there. And they'll have hay rides and a tractor show and a pumpkin patch and a corn maze, beer garden, food trucks, craft show, and vendors. There's a $5 parking fee and everything else is free. So please put those two items on your agenda. And also, I don't know where our town clerk She's with the chief. Well, it's her birthday. So when she comes back in, we'll surprise her by singing happy birthday.
She's 25 again? Mhm.
Okay.
And with that, we have a very, very special announcement. But in order to do this, I need to call up Lori Lineberry, our Development Services Director. Lori, would you please share your fantastic news with council?
Sure. We're not ready for that yet. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Lori Lineberry with the Department of Community Development. Every year, the planners have one conference that we go to together as Arizona planners. And part of that is we have this little friendly competition about plans and projects and ordinances and cool things that we've done during the prior year. So part of that means that we have to submit for competition. So our consultant, our general plan consultant, asked us in June if it would be okay if they submitted our project to be in this competition. So there's 5 categories: planning excellence, strengthening communities, general plan under 49,000 people, general plan over 50,000 people, and a student project. So I wanted to share with you the video that they put together and played for all of the planners in the state. That prides itself on its rural character and celebrates its historic ranching lifestyle. The Chino Valley 2040 General Plan is a groundbreaking blueprint tailored specifically to the unique dynamics of the community. Public outreach was the most critical component of developing the plan, with a multifaceted approach that included in-depth focus group interviews, interactive public open houses, and a strength, weakness, opportunity, threat analysis session with the town staff. The dedicated project website was a hub for information, online polling, resources, location-based commenting, and community discussion. The plan introduces the concept of activity nodes, a strategic departure from the conventional strict highway commercial development pattern seen in the town. This approach ensures that growth enriches the community, providing diverse economic opportunities while preserving the town's unique history and natural beauty. The centerpiece of the activity nodes is Old Home Manor, a 200-acre master planned mixed-use area owned by the town, which will introduce many different uses catering to the diverse needs of residents and visitors. The plan was ratified by voters in November 2023 and has proven to be a catalyst for transformative developments within the town, notably the creation of the Del Rio Springs State Park. This 740-acre park is not just a testament to ecological and historical preservation, but also a shining example of effective public-private partnership. The town's initiative to draft a water master plan and update the zoning ordinance in response to the general plan further underscores the plan's pivotal role in guiding and improving community development, municipal management, and infrastructure projects.
So.
There you go. We won the prize, the top prize for general plans with under 49,000 population. I wanted to recognize Cindy Blackmore for her leadership throughout that whole thing, her support for me and my team, Terry Denemy and Trisha Lewis for their outreach and the logistics of all of the complicated things that we had to do. The General Plan Steering Committee that the council appointed, that was an amazing group of folks. And then the 3 ambassadors that took the plan to the finish line with the voters. So thank you.
Thank you. We got the photo.
Yes, you too can be on the front page of the paper.
It weighs like 25 pounds.
Oh, it's not significant.
Nah.
It's just counterbalance.
It's from Drake. It's from Drake. Cool.
Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you. Congratulations.
It's going in your office.
We need a trophy.
Traveling trophy? Yeah, okay. No.
Terry, you still have the floor.
That was all that I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Consent agenda. Would anyone like to remove an item from the consent agenda? No? Okay, we'll entertain a
I
motion.
make a motion to approve consent agenda items A and B.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 6A, consideration possible action to approve the cooperative purchasing agreement job order number 1 with Cactus Asphalt. Frank.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. This project is part of the capital improvement plan. The proposal is the town owns a small section of Outer Loop Road between Highway 89 and Road 1 West. That's the only road that the experts, I'll say lightly, I think there's more roads, but it's considered a regionally significant route in the Simpo region. And it's the only one officially recognized in Chino Valley right now. So we need to try and maintain it. What we did is we worked with Cactus Asphalt. That's one of the job order contracts that we piggybacked on with Prescott. And the treatment we're proposing is a polymer modified asphalt rubber chip seal. Steve calls it a PMAR. I call it a SAMI, a stress absorbing membrane interlayer, with a 2-inch overlay. So it's a fancy chip seal with a 2-inch overlay. It's what we're doing with a little bit of milling before that to level out some of the ruts that are in there. The proposal is $444,185.51, and that's within the $450,000 that we budgeted for the project. So if we get it approved now, we can get going on it and get it done before winter.
Okay. Thank you. Questions from council to staff? None?
Yeah, just one on the presentation. It says this is option 2. Can you describe option 2 or tell me why it's different from option 1 or?
You're looking at the wrong one, buddy. Go for it.
It's job order number
Job order
1.
number 2 is next.
Oh, option 1 was
No, it's
just,
not.
oh yeah, because the contractor actually proposed an option 1, which was a cape seal, which is a way to say, take a chip seal and top it with a slurry seal.
Okay.
The problem with option 1 is it provides no structural support, where the 2-inch overlay in option 2 actually provides extra structure to help prevent that rutting that we're having to fix out
We're
there.
getting a better job for under budget.
Yeah, so
Cool.
option 1 was way cheaper, but it won't
Didn't do the
last.
job. Okay.
Frank, how long is this chip seal supposed to last?
Well, it's a chip seal with an overlay over top of it, so 5 to 10 years.
How many?
5 to 10 years, with maybe seal starting to crack seal after 5 years or so. It's a little hard to tell because the true treatment for this road per our pavement management program is a full reconstruct at about 1.5 million. So we're trying to save money and stretch it down the road.
But it is a major road, so it probably might last 5 years.
Yeah, it's a heavily traveled road, so
Heavily
if we can get 10 years out of an overlay, that's pretty typical. Because even a 20-year on a new road construct in 20 years, you start crack sealing it 3 to 5 years and you overlay it in year 10 anyway. So it's
Anybody else? All right, we'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I recommend we approve cooperative purchasing agreement, job order number 1 with Cactus Asphalt, option 2 for the fiscal year 25 street improvements phase 2 in the amount of $444,185.51.
Don't forget that 1 cent.
Second.
You seconding?
Yep.
A motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. 51 cents.
Gotta have it.
All right, item B, public hearing consideration and possible action to approve resolution number 2024-1271. Oh, you're getting this.
Oh, sorry. It was shorter than I expected.
It's our favorite convenience store.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. Will Dengy, your Assistant Director for Development Services. As read, this is a requested conditional use permit for the soil remediation for Circle K. Now, this conditional use permit is strictly for the equipment above ground. It has nothing to do with pertaining anything below ground other than the remediation itself. Anything about what's happening below ground is handled at either the county, state, or federal level. So tonight's item is strictly for the above ground equipment and its related audible and visual impacts to the community. So if you are not familiar where our Circle K is, it is sandwiched in between West Palomino Road and West Butterfield. As part of the Butterfield Village Plaza, which is contained within a irregularly shaped parcel, kind of like an S. And this portion that we're putting the CUP on or discussing the CUP on is in the northeast corner, right adjacent to State Route 89. Currently on site, we do already have this equipment operational. We did go ahead and give them an at-risk approval for this. Whenever the situation did come up, staff did not want to prolong any sort of remediation on site, went ahead and let them install and begin their operation, and then obviously conditional on this conditional use permit getting approved. If it is approved, they're going to be able to hardwire electrical to this and ultimately get rid of the need to run full-time on generators. So this picture on screen right now is if you're standing at State Route 89 looking west. The remediation site itself is located northwest of the Circle K building, enclosed within that temporary chain link screening fence behind the Jersey barriers. Same site looking west if you're standing on looking south if you're standing on Palomino. And then again, looking east behind the Circle K, where that gray Tacoma is the driveway and access point for the remediation site. So they do not access through the parking lot of Circle K. Now, I'm not going to pretend like I know what all of these things do. So I'm just going to list an inventory of what the equipment is on site. So you're going to have 2 catalytic oxidizers, 1,000-gallon diesel fuel above tank storage, 2 36-kilowatt generators, 1,000-gallon propane tank, and then 2 55-gallon drums for that knockout concentrate or condensate that is utilized within the oxidizers. And all of that is located within that chain linked area. And just for some additional reference, on the left-hand side of your screen are the pictures of the oxidizers on site. The bottom right-hand side is a picture of that one of the generators. Above that is the fuel storage. And then above that is additional pictures of the screening currently in place. This item did go before the Planning and Zoning Commission on July 16th. It did receive a recommendation of approval to Town Council. There was discussion on the conditions of approval with that, and the Planning Commission elected to remove the landscaping requirement that was going to go around the updated CMU block screening wall for the remediation area. They felt that by the time it gets established, the conditional use permit only has a 4-year lifespan. So it would be establishing the landscaping within the first year. It'd be about 2 years of effectiveness. And then ideally all of this is going away. So they didn't feel the need to plant the landscaping. So they went forward with that recommendation removed. So tonight, the recommendation before you is to hold a public hearing and then approve resolution 2024-1271.
Thank you, Will.
You're welcome.
Any questions for Will?
So the landscaping is not going to be there, but it's still going to be fenced in.
It'll actually be walled in. It'll be a
Walled.
concrete block wall. Correct.
Okay. I did read the minutes from Robert Switzer and Chuck.
Yes.
And they were pretty extensive on asking their questions.
They were.
Any other questions on this side? How about over here?
Just one, once the CUP is approved, it's their intent to get the generator out of there, right? So they'll
Correct.
get rid of that sound.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, it might not be to remove it. It'll be the reliance of it. I believe there will at least still be one on site for a backup need and if possible. Correct.
Did I see a Connex box in one of those pictures?
You did. You did.
Never mind.
It was already there.
Grandfather.
All right. Thanks, Will. I think that's it. Any questions for the applicant?
No.
All right, we'll open it up for a public hearing. Does anyone have anything they'd like to say? Anybody? All right. Seeing there's nobody wants to talk, we're gonna close the public hearing. And we'll go down to discussion, motion, and is there any more discussion?
No.
All right, we'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve resolution number 2024-1271.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item C, public hearing consideration possible action to approve ordinance number 2024-947.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of the council. My name is Jessica Berrigan, Senior Planner for the Town of Chino Valley's Development Services Department. I'll be presenting the rezone request before you, ZC 2024-05. This 3-acre property is located at 772 West Road 1 North, approximately under a quarter mile west of State Route 89. As you can see here, the property is currently zoned AR5. There is a single-family residence under construction on the northern part of the parcel. The applicant does wish to split the property to construct a second single-family dwelling in the future, and to do that, he is requesting the rezone to SR1. The SR1 request is appropriate for that land use designation. This slide shows the Make It Chino 2040 general plan, and it demonstrates how the request aligns with the respective land use designation of rural residential. Earlier this month, on September 3rd, the town's Planning and Zoning Commission forwarded a unanimous recommendation to approve the rezone request. And with that said, staff recommends that the council hold a public hearing and approve ordinance 2024-947, subject to the conditions of approval that were outlined in your packet. Here are the conditions of approval. That does conclude staff's presentation. I'm available for any questions. The applicant is present, does not wish to speak, and doesn't have anything further to add. Thank you.
Well done. All right.
Tell them too bad.
Really? You have any other projects you can speak about?
Okay, questions from council to staff. They're going to where Jessica.
Absolutely. Hey, that looks like a magnificent flag lot. That's zoned SR2. Is that going to be the access point for these parcels?
It is going to be the access point. Are you talking about the one that says Grove Lane?
No, ma'am.
On the right side?
Right there.
No, that is not part of the project. Their access is a private shared access that you can see where my mouse goes along this area. And if I go over here to show you, you can see that access way is here. The flag lot that you mentioned is privately owned by this parcel here.
Go back.
How many acres is this parcel currently?
3.
The house that's being constructed now, that's gonna be on 1.5 acres on the west side. Cause you got a gravel road. I went up there today. You got a gravel road that ends, would end into this red square. And the house that's being constructed now would be on the left side.
It would be on the north side of the current, of that parcel. So 1.5.
Where's the other 1.5 acres then?
Right below it.
The big,
So,
the open lot when you're coming north on the driveway? Be on the west side?
yes, so it would be on your right if you're going north. So if you're driving up north from West Road 1 North, up that
Okay,
street,
if
it's
you're
on the
going
right.
up their gravel driveway.
Correct.
Okay. The gravel driveway dead ends into where they're building a house. Then it goes off to the left and it goes around.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So where is the split for the 1.5 acre?
If you see my mouse right here, it's going to be approximately right down the center of this,
Diagonal.
or the diagonal, I'm
Diagonal?
sorry. Yeah, diagonal.
Wow,
That,
Oh, straight down.
okay.
that would.
Oh,
put-
okay. Sorry, I don't have the survey in front of me.
That would put the
Didn't cut it.
property, the house right on that diagonal.
Yes. I don't have the survey right in front of me, but it would be 1.5 acres.
Did I see something that said 2 to 3 lots? I just want to make sure we're very clear on what we're voting for. Is this going to be 2 lots?
2
or
lots,
3?
yeah. There would only be able to be 2.
Got a question for Will. Sorry, Jessica, but Will's probably familiar with this one. On Messenger Lane, there's huge issues there. And on that side, on
Right
up there where those properties are being split, isn't there a wash on the right, Messenger Lane's just south of there,
There.
but isn't there a wash to the east of that lot?
It kind of bisects the middle of it. The idea is that the new property line would kind of bisect that wash to make it as minimally impactful on the current parcel or the current home being under construction and then the additional one. Part of this to help address and make sure that we have no issues in the future. We do have the Public Works requiring that a finished floor elevation is constructed for this. So they're going to hire an engineer. They already have hired an engineer, and they're working to make sure that there's no impact to these homes being constructed.
And these aren't in a FEMA flood zone.
No,
not
correct,
at
not a
all.
FEMA.
But I have seen that horse arena, go back to the satellite photo if you would. Okay, so just north, see where the horse arena is? And right down to the right, right. Keep going, right
Yeah.
there. Wasn't the Brookshield or something like that was supposed to be in this area?
Right
Yeah.
here.
So I visually watched sheep flow through there because there's a barn there. There's an old barn there and it went right through, took the bales of hay with them.
Absolutely. And that's where Public Works is coming from. They want to make sure that there's no impact and that what the impact is, being created currently with these homes being under construction is that there's nothing detrimental downstream being added.
All right, so we're just talking zoning, the engineering, plating and all that will be done later.
Nope, it'll just be a lot split. It won't
Right.
be a subdivision plat. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else got anything?
And the information provided says lots 2 to 3.
Yeah.
We want to, we just.
So that is
rein that down to just 2.
So this here, oh, I'm sorry. I was trying to highlight it. So this is part of the table for, I don't know if you remember many years ago when we redid the lot split code, and it talks about improvements to adjacent roadways and where we classify those. Because this is within the classification of creating 2 to 3 lots, it triggers this classification. So if you're 3 or greater, you do something different, but within the creation of 2 or 3, this criteria takes effect.
But the applicant is saying he's just doing 2.
Correct.
Okay.
Anything from the neighbors?
I don't believe, Jessica, did we have any public comment from the neighbors?
Maybe they're here to talk public hearing.
Okay. I think we're done with staff. All right, any questions from the applicant?
I got questions for that. No, just joking. You don't want to talk.
They're sitting in the corner nodding, so.
We're good.
Okay, we're gonna open a public hearing. Does anybody have anything to say about this? Seeing none, we're gonna close the public hearing.
Wow.
And now if we have any discussion here,
Nope.
motion, please.
Make a motion to approve ordinance number 2024-947.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
This one's getting.
All right, item D, consideration possible action to authorize.
Yeah.
What?
We've got it.
Authorize staff to move forward with the successful bidder for RV Park Development at Old Hope Manor, parcel number 306-02-01X.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to reschedule this item to the October 22nd regular meeting.
Second.
Wow, okay. So this is being moved to October 22nd. We need a second. You did second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No, okay. Aye.
It's gone.
Yeah. Opposed?
Second.
No opposition. All right, item E, consideration and possible action to dedicate a portion of parcel 30602-012E along West Road 2 South to Yavapai County as a right-of-way.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. This came to us through a request for an easement from APS Electric. They're working on a subdivision on the south side of Road 2 South in the county jurisdiction. Once we learned that actually parcel 30602-012E was owned by the town, we went to work. So what it is that there's a 25-foot nub on the north side of that triangle piece that's actually in the road. And they were asking for an easement from the town. I said, why not just dedicate it to the county as right of way? And then any license agreement they would have with the county would take care of that. So I got in touch with the county public works director and his staff, and they agreed with me. They actually drew up the document you have in the packet for us. I appreciate the help from the county surveyor on that. So what we're proposing is just to donate, proceed to dedicate that 25-foot to the county. It'll have to go through their approval process to accept it. But we think that's a cleaner way to do it than to deal with any sort of easement for the electric and go ahead and clean up this stretch of right away. The town limits are the middle of the road, basically.
You done?
I'm done.
All right.
Unless you have
Any questions from council to staff?
You're off the hook.
Nope.
Okay. Discussion amongst council? Nope.
Does the county want it?
Doesn't matter. We're giving it to them.
You get it whether you like it or not.
Take care of it.
You hear that, Craig?
So they do need to vote on it, but county staff said they're willing to present it to the board.
All right. How about a motion?
Mayor, I recommend we approve the dedication of a portion of parcel 306-02-012 Echo along West Road 2 South to Yavapai County as a right-of-way and authorize the acting town manager or designee to execute all documents necessary for the dedication.
Motion, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Sherry?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
No.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
No.
Not yet,
Not
not
yet.
yet.
Oh,
Sheriff.
okay. We're on hold.
She split.
All in favor?
Where'd she go?
It's fine.
So to sing happy
All right,
birthday?
she's gonna call her so we can sing happy birthday.
Already sang her happy birthday one.
Yeah, but it was terrible.
Ready?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
All right.
Well, Brad.
Can we adjourn?
Uh-huh.
All right. All in favor?
Second.
Aye. We're adjourned.
Gone, yes.
I cut those strawberries.
Yep.
I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I'll leave it with you.